Impenetrable fortress. Notorious prison. Escape considered impossible. This is the story of Tim Jenkin, an activist locked away for fighting freedom in a racially divided South Africa. But within the cold stone walls of Pretoria Prison, a daring plan ignited. No high-tech gadgets, no explosives, just a man, his resourcefulness, and a secret weapon, wooden keys, meticulously carved from stolen scraps. Tim Jenkin was born in Cape Town, South Africa, in 1948. Growing up in the midst of apartheid, Jenkin witnessed firsthand the injustices and inequalities perpetuated by the segregationist regime. His early experiences instilled in him a strong sense of social justice and a desire to challenge the status quo. As a child, Jenkin showed an aptitude for problem-solving and innovation, traits that would later serve him well in his activism and during his time in prison. He attended school during a tumultuous period in South Africa's history, where racial tensions were high and the apartheid government tightened its grip on power. Stephen Lee's childhood background is less publicly documented compared to Jenkin's, but it is known that he shared a similar upbringing marked by the realities of apartheid South Africa. Born in the same era and environment as Jenkin, Lee likely faced similar challenges and injustices growing up under the oppressive regime. Like Jenkin, Lee developed a strong sense of social justice and a commitment to challenging apartheid from a young age. He too would have been influenced by the anti-apartheid movement and the courageous individuals who fought against segregation and inequality. Tim Jenkin and Stephen Lee were South African anti-apartheid activists who played significant roles in opposing the apartheid regime. Jenkin, born in Cape Town in 1948, became politically active in the 1970s, joining the African National Congress, ANC. Stephen Lee, also a dedicated activist, worked alongside Jenkin in their shared mission to fight the oppressive apartheid system. Their activities primarily involved distributing pamphlets and other materials to raise awareness and mobilize opposition against apartheid. In 1978, Jenkin and Lee were arrested by the South African authorities for their involvement in the ANC's underground operations. They were charged with producing and distributing 18 different pamphlets on behalf of banned organizations, including the ANC. This was considered a severe crime by the apartheid government, aiming to suppress any dissent against his policies. Consequently, Jenkin was sentenced to 12 years, and Lee to 8 years in Pretoria Central Prison, a maximum security facility notorious for housing political prisoners. Jenkin, known for his ingenuity and determination, quickly began devising a plan to escape from Pretoria Central Prison. The plan hinged on a combination of keen observation, meticulous planning, and the crafting of unconventional tools. Jenkin spent considerable time studying the locks of the prison doors. He observed the guards' routines and the prison's security measures, noting every detail that could be exploited. The most critical aspect of their escape plan was creating wooden keys to unlock the prison doors. Jenkin and Lee managed to obtain detailed impressions of the locks using the combination of soap, matchsticks, and other materials they could scavenge within the prison. Using these impressions, Jenkin meticulously carved replicas out of wood, creating a set of keys designed to fit each lock they needed to bypass. Before the final escape, Jenkin and Lee had several close calls. They made multiple attempts to test their keys, refining their designs each time they encountered setbacks. During these trials, they risked detection and severe punishment, but their commitment to the cause and their belief in the necessity of their escape kept them motivated. Each failed attempt provided valuable insights, allowing them to improve their methods and strategies. On December 11, 1979, Jenkin, Lee, and a fellow inmate, Alex Mumbaris, decided it was time to make their move. Armed with their handcrafted wooden keys, they carefully unlocked a series of doors leading out of the prison. Their route took them through several internal gates, a courtyard, and finally an external gate. Each lock presented a challenge, but Jenkin's painstakingly crafted keys worked flawlessly. The escapees had to maintain absolute silence and composure throughout the operation to avoid detection by the guards. Once outside the prison walls, they navigated through the prison's outer perimeter, reaching the streets of Pretoria. After escaping, the trio went their separate ways to increase their chances of evading capture. They received assistance from the ANC's network of supporters, who helped them find temporary shelter and eventually facilitated their departure from South Africa. Jenkin and Lee managed to evade recapture and fled to London, where they continued their anti-apartheid activities. Their successful escape not only embarrassed the South African government, but also inspired other political prisoners and activists worldwide. The details of their breakout were later documented in Jenkin's book, Escape from Pretoria, which was adapted into a film, further highlighting their remarkable ingenuity and bravery in the face of oppressive regime. After escaping from Pretoria Central Prison, Tim Jenkin continued his anti-apartheid activism. He eventually settled in London, where he played a significant role in the ANC's international operations. Jenkin utilized his technical skills to assist in various clandestine activities aimed at undermining the apartheid regime. Notably, he developed a secure communication system for the ANC, which proved invaluable in coordinating efforts between activists inside and outside South Africa. Following the end of apartheid in the early 1990s and the establishment of a democratic South Africa, Jenkin returned to his home country. He continued to be involved in social justice causes and has dedicated much of his time to community development projects. He also worked on documenting his experiences, contributing to historical records of the anti-apartheid struggle. As of recent reports, Jenkin remains active in promoting social justice and continues to inspire through his story of resilience and ingenuity. Stephen Lee also fled to London after the successful escape and continued to support the ANC from abroad. His efforts, like those of his fellow escapees, were crucial in sustaining international pressure on the apartheid regime. After the fall of apartheid, Lee pursued a career outside the political spotlight, focusing on his personal and professional life. Details about Lee's current activities are less publicly documented compared to Jenkin's, but it is known that he has remained a strong advocate for social justice and human rights. He has occasionally participated in events and discussions related to the anti-apartheid movement, sharing his experiences and perspectives on the struggle for freedom in South Africa. Alex Mumburis, who escaped alongside Jenkin and Lee, also found refuge in London and continued his activism against apartheid. Mumburis, a French national, eventually returned to France, where he became involved in various political and social causes. His contributions to the anti-apartheid movement were recognized in South Africa and internationally. Mumburis' later years were marked by his commitment to human rights advocacy and support for liberation movements. He has shared his experiences through interviews and public appearances, highlighting the global impact of the struggle against apartheid. The escape of Tim Jenkin, Stephen Lee, and Alex Mumburis from Pretoria Central Prison remains one of the most daring and ingenious prison breaks in history. Their successful escape not only dealt a blow to the apartheid regime's reputation, but also served as a powerful symbol of resistance and determination. Their stories have been immortalized in books and films, ensuring that future generations learn about their bravery and the broader fight for justice in South Africa. The audacity of Tim Jenkin's escape left jaws on the floor and shook the very foundation of Pretoria Prison. But what became of his fight for freedom? Stick around for the next episode, where we'll uncover the aftermath of this daring escape and the long road to a just future.